Seven is getting some much deserved treats. I've been gone for 3 days. I know, I'm so sorry, but you had a great time going outside every day. And we have another episode about laminitis this week from Dr. Ursini at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. So we're doing a series of 3 about laminitis, and then we would love to know what other topics y'all would like to know about further that she could deep dive into, and that we could get these really awesome, in-depth explanations about from such an amazing equine professional. So thank you, Dr. Ursini. I'm going to give it to you.
Hi again, I'm Dr. Tina Ursini at the University of Tennessee, here with our second installment on the series on laminitis. So again, last time we talked about how we diagnose these horses, what do they look like clinically. So we've got rotation of P3 or the coffin joint on radiographs. So what are we going to do with these horses now? First and foremost, one of the most important things is to stop the insult. So whatever happened to these horses, if it's equine metabolic syndrome, so they're getting too much sugar in their diet, we've got to control their diet. If it's Cushing's disease, PPID, they have high stress hormones, we've got to block the response to those stress hormones with medications. If it's support limb laminitis, we've got to get the other leg as comfortable as fast as possible. Similar with road founder, we just need to provide support, not kind of pound to traumatize those feet anymore. And then if it's endotoxemia or it's systemic sickness, we've got to get them systemically better, right? We also do that by icing their feet and preventing as much blood flow in those horses to the foot to try and prevent those toxins from coming. So that's the mainstay of what we do to get them, to stop the progression first and foremost. And then as you would obviously see, so as P3 here, there's just not much tissue. Like this block right here is the outside of the foot. So there's really not much support, there's not much tissue, there's not much cushion or sole depth in this horse between P3 and the ground, which is going to make them painful as well, secondary to even just the laminitis. So how do we support these horses? And a lot of it is therapeutic shoeing. We have a ton of different options to put on these horses, which gives you an indication that no one is any better than the other, and it depends on the case as to what we pick and why. So kind of one of the the most benign option that people will do is make them barefoot and you put them in a stall with really deep sand. So that sand conforms to their feet, kind of gives them a custom squishy mold that they can stand in all the time. As you would imagine, that's costly to develop, costly to make as a stall at home. And it gets really hard to clean. You think of the manure, you think of the urine that builds up in that sand. Not the most hygienic or easy to clean and maintain. So as an alternative to that, people have made these squishy boots. And so this is just one option. There's a bunch of different kinds, and obviously it looks a little bit like a foot. This is where the frog would sit and support the frog, and then the toe is actually a lot squishier because, as you remember, the radiographs, the tip of the bone of P3 is going to tip down right here, and this is where they're going to be most sensitive. So essentially kind of a sneaker, if you will, and then it fits in this boot, and we can reset those every day and support the horse that way. Give them some time just to get over the inflammation and grow some foot. The other option that we like here is what we'll call a clog, and so this is just one option of clogs. There are multiple types of clogs, and what we can do is instead of nails, we actually put screws through their feet into the clog, but they don't have to stand up to do it. So traditionally when we nail on a shoe, we ask the horse to stand, with a leg raised, and then we nail onto the shoe from the bottom. This is really nice because what we can do if horses are really sore, so think of their feet are sore, we can just kind of set their foot up on this and they can still, kind of weight bear with both feet, if that makes sense. And then we just do, simple screws from the top, again, through that non-sensitive tissue of the hoof wall, and screw this on. Within here too, we've got a lot of nice little squishy stuff. This is an indication of it, so impression material that the horse then stands on, and again, an idea of a little bit of a sneaker. With this foam, same thing. The horse, it seems pretty stiff here to my fingers, but I'm not a 1,000-pound animal, so when they squish on this, it gives them just a nice squishy sneaker type feel. Other options that people have come up with, this is one, why the rotation happens a lot of times is because we've lost the attachments. And let me grab the model actually. So we've lost the attachments to the front between the bone and the hoof wall here. So what that allows is, this is the deep digital flexor tendon that comes all the way down the leg, over the navicular bone here, and attaches to the coffin bone, the bone in P3 that we're talking about. And since there's no lamina to pull against it, it wins the tug of war and promotes that tipping down or that rotation. So there's a lot of theories and a lot of thought of, hey, if we can unload the deep digital flexor tendon, we can stop the rotation. So that's what this shoe is kind of designed to do. We have to do this radiographic guided, and it's a whole process. And then this gets glued onto the foot with, again, providing a wedge with the idea of unloading that deep digital flexor tendon. So we've talked about stopping the insult, supporting the foot. Third would be medications that we have to provide. So these horses absolutely need anti-inflammatories. We have to get that inflammation under control. The mainstay for that is going to be an NSAID or bute, Banamine, something like that, to get that inflammation down, and in the process help their pain levels. Thanks for listening. Again, this is Tina Ursini from the University of Tennessee. Next up in the series, we're going to talk about, okay, what does this horse's future look like? What's the progression of disease, and where do we go from here?
You've had 3 handfuls of treats. That is enough. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed that this week. Again, stay tuned for next week, which will be the 3rd episode, and then let us know what other topics you would like for us to cover. Okay, I'm just going to get my hand licked for a while now. Okay.